All right, y'all. So today is Talk About It Tuesday. And yes, it's our first one. So I'm going to let y'all slide with not being in attendance this week. But next week, I'm looking forward to each and every one of you being in attendance and joining us live, sharing with us live. So pretty, you guys, we're back. I'm so excited. Um, okay, to be honest, I've been nervous about this because I've been away so long. And look at this little ugly thing trying to pop out on my face. But I've just been away for so long and just dealing with all kinds of stuff, but we'll talk about that later. Yeah, so God has truly been working on me. He's been pushing me. He has been prodding me. He's been poking me. He's been doing all the stuff to me to help me to understand that it's okay and that He is with me no matter if anyone else is or not. Um, so this has been a long time coming. I know that I should have been doing this, but again, like I said, I've just been nervous and worried what people will think, wonder how people will feel, and that's one of my weaknesses. I gotta work through that. I gotta get over that. But anyway, so today, um, we are going to talk about healing. Now, I heard this quote and I can't remember who said it, but um, they said that as you heal, you will be misunderstood. So let me say that again. As you heal, you will be misunderstood. So let's take a minute to think about this quote. What exactly does that mean um, when we say that you will be misunderstood as you heal? So let me talk a little bit about myself. And again, those of you who know me know that this is difficult for me to do, but I am going to go ahead and share. So, I'm currently in the process of healing. I want to say my process started back in October 2020. Um, I was at a very low point of my life in October 2020. Just with so much going on in the world, so much going on in my personal life, it was a lot. So, for those of you that don't know, I am currently separated from my husband. Um, there was just things that we just could not seem to work through together. Obviously, that entails a whole huge learn or healing process. That whole process, it just entails a huge it's an undertaking for um, a lot of healing. So with that, Dawson being diagnosed with epilepsy about a year prior to that, um, my son going to prison, when I tell you it was a lot, I am currently dealing with a lot. But thank God for his grace and mercy because he is every day he's healing Dawson. She's getting better and better and better. Her medication has been lowered. She has not had any major seizures, just a few little small ones here and there, but nothing like she was when she was initially diagnosed. So I'm thankful and grateful for that, for sure. Um, as far as my son, like I said, he is currently in prison, and I'm just hoping and praying every day that he will make the necessary changes so that he can, once he's released, that he can turn his life back around, start doing some positive things, whatever that may be. But I'm constantly in prayer for him, and hopefully you guys will join me in that as well. Now, as far as my marriage, that has caused a lot of hurt in my life. And I say that my healing process started in October 2020 because that's when I started going to see a therapist. Now, I know that a lot of people feel like therapists are for crazy people. Therapists are not for Christians. People have their all kinds of opinions on therapy and counseling and all those things. But I'm a huge advocate of counseling and of therapy because I'm typically that type of like strong individual who wants to just hold it all in. I can figure it out. I'm good. I'm strong and all those things. But um, if you've tried to do that before, you know how difficult that can be. So October 2020, I started going to counseling. And at the time, I was diagnosed as severely depressed with PTSD. Um, I forget what else. I feel like there was a third thing. But anyway, so diagnosed with all these things again at a very extremely low point of my life. So as I worked through, as I began to work through I'm gonna call them my issues, the things that I struggle with. Um, it all kind of went back to me being a child and being molested. Now, I've talked about that before, but I have not talked about it in great detail. Um, and I probably won't today either, just because I want to focus on the healing aspect of it all. Um, but healing, um, so as you can see, I have a lot of stuff that I need to heal from. I need to heal through. Um, So, yes, I know the quote says, as you heal, you will be misunderstood, but it's so difficult because, like, some of the things that I heard from people, things people would say to me, or things that I would hear that someone said to me was things like, um, they they think that I'm better than them. Like, that is not the case, ma'am or sir. I just know what is best for Crystal now. My whole life, I was living my life for others, for various other people, depending on what stage of my life it was. But now, through my counseling, through my therapy, I now know what Crystal likes, what Crystal needs, and I'm living according to that. I was told that I was arrogant, and I'm like, I'm not arrogant, and I know that that comes off. It might come off that way sometimes because maybe I don't talk a lot in certain situations, but that's because I'm an observer. I like to sit back and take in my surroundings before I begin to talk, especially if it's around people that I'm not very familiar with. But I can understand how that can be seen as arrogant. Um, because I set up boundaries and expectations, things that I did not have before, I've been told that I'm only thinking about myself and that I'm selfish. Now, anyone who truly knows me, you know that I'm so far from selfish. Um, do I love myself? Yes, of course I do. Do I love my children? Yes, of course I do. But selfish, that's not a good descriptor for me. Um, but again, as you begin to heal, I'm gonna talk about myself. As I am healing, I'm learning that I need to set boundaries. This is something that I had never done before, and it's uncomfortable still when I'm setting those boundaries. But I know, I now know, and am constantly learning what is best for me, and that's how I have to live my life. Because if I'm not good for me, there's no way I can be good for anyone else, not even my kids. So those boundaries were very necessary. The I'm gonna say the craziest thing that I heard through this healing process is that I'm headed down the wrong path. I heard that from a couple people who actually no, I heard that from one person, and I feel like, of course, when people say stuff to me or about me, I always look at myself because I always think like, I just feel like I need to check myself before I can look at anybody else. So I thought about it and I'm like, headed down the wrong path. Like, what would make them say that about me? So the best I can come up with is that because I've set boundaries, because I'm not allowing um, them to play puppet master with me anymore, maybe that's why they feel like I'm headed down the wrong path. And possibly because I'm not going and doing the things that they want me to do. I'm doing what God has shown me is best for me. So, those were just some of the examples of things that I've gotten in regards to healing and being misunderstood. So, did the things that the people said about me or to me, did it hurt me? Did it bother me? Yep, it did. But you have to be strong enough in where God is leading you to know that people are not going to agree with the new you. They're not going to agree with your boundaries. They're not going to agree with how you carry yourself or the things that you accept and you don't accept any longer. And it's difficult. I mean, you have to think about if somebody has known you, let's say, even if it's only been 10 years, and you've done things a certain way, you've allowed certain things, and then after 10 years, you decide, you know what? I'm not even gonna say you decide. You learn that those things are not healthy. Those things are not okay for you and the way you need to live your life for the Lord. And you start to cut things off. You start to put up walls and not necessarily, I'm not going to call them walls. You start to put up fences because a fence is a boundary. A fence is something that you could crawl over, you could climb over. Walls are usually made out of concrete or brick. They're hard to break down. So we don't want any walls. Just say boundaries. So when you start to put boundaries up, people do start to feel some type of way. Um, but again, as long as you know that the boundaries you're creating are for your benefit, that's the most important thing. Because again, if you're not okay, you can't be okay for anyone else. Healing is a difficult process. If you are truly committed to healing and growing in God, growing your relationship with Him, if you are truly trying to live your life for Him, it's hard, y'all. Is hard because just like the people have gotten used to us being a certain way, we have gotten used to being a certain way. For me to not continue to do some of the things that I used to do, it was hard. But I also look at and think about where did doing those things get me? How did that work for me? It didn't. So, as difficult, as uncomfortable as it may be, you have to let some of those things go. You have to let some people go in your healing. You can love people from a distance. You don't have to be mad at them. You don't have to wish ill things on them. Love them from a distance. You don't have to put yourself through toxicity. You don't have to allow yourself to be abused in that way. And I'm just talking about like mental abuse, emotional abuse. That's abuse too. It's just as bad as, probably worse than being physically abused. I haven't been physically abused before, but I can only imagine because my opinion is that being physical, not to say that physical abuse is no big deal because it's huge. Um, while physical abuse leaves um, physical scars, those physical scars do eventually heal. If a bone is broken, unfortunately, that does happen. But at the end of the day, that broken bone will heal. If you have a black eye, the black eye will eventually heal. But emotional and mental abuse, that's on a whole different level to me because you can't erase what the person has said. You can't unhear what the person has said to you, the negativity that they've put on you. So those things replay in your mind over and over and over again. And that's a major part of my healing process is that I've got to learn. to filter out some of those negative things. Now, some of the things are true, they're relevant, they're things that I need to look at and make some adjustments on. But in a lot of cases, it's just things that people are saying or doing to tear you down. And so we have to learn from a professional, in my opinion. And let me say something real quick. People will say that God is my counselor. That's the only counselor I need. He is the most awesome, fantabulous, super counselor out here. However, he has also created people in positions. He's created degrees and knowledge for human beings to be able to sit and talk with us in the moment. Yes, our first counselor should be Jesus. We should pray to him. We should talk to him. We should take everything to him first before we take it to anybody. But please don't feel like he's the only person for you to talk to, because again, he did create the counselors, the therapists, those people in those positions to be able to help us here on earth. So don't feel like I must be crazy if I have to go talk to a therapist, because you're not. What will happen, what could very possibly happen, is that you could go crazy. You could snap, because I was there. You could snap if you don't have an avenue to get that out and to get some healthy advice. Because face it, if we let our girlfriends be our counselors and our person or people to help us heal, we possibly end up in the county. So we need that positive energy. We need those positive tactics and strategies on how to deal with people, because in the end we know we can't change people. Even though we like to think we can't change people. All we can do is change the way we respond to them. We can change the way that we can change the way that we react. That's the only thing that we can control, is ourselves. So a lot of times, especially when you're hurting, you can't do that very effectively. You can't do that very effectively. So healing is tough, y'all, and it's a process. It's like every day, all day. Because, for example, somebody says something to you at work. The old you would have went 0 to 1,000 in about 2 seconds. But as you're healing and growing and maturing, you're trying to find other ways to respond, if you respond at all, because sometimes those statements, those comments don't even need a response. And that's part of healing, because when we're hurt, like I have been, like I'm sure all of you have been, you just want to lash out a lot of times, especially when somebody comes at you some type of way. Oh yeah, I'm gonna let them have this. I'm gonna let them have it. I'm gonna let them know exactly what's going on. But it's not always necessary, because it's just not necessary always. But that's a part of the healing process. You learn, like I was saying, you learn different strategies. You learn different tactics on how to respond, when to respond to people and the things that they do and the things that they say. So yeah, healing is a tough one. And please don't think that, oh, I started going to therapy this week, so in a month I should be good. Y'all, I'm still going, and I still got stuff I'm trying to work through. Um, when I'm trying to tell you, and when it gets tough, don't run away from it. Because it's gonna get tough. It's gonna be some days you're gonna be like, ugh, I don't want to talk to this person. I don't want to think about what had happened in the past. I don't want to. No, but those are days that you need to go. Those are the days you need to push through and get that healing. God does not want us to be miserable. He wants us to live our best lives, but he wants us to live our lives according to his will, not what we want or what we think is okay, which is where a lot of us tend to get caught up. As you're healing, you're going to be lonely. You're going to feel lonely, but you have to understand that being lonely is better than sacrificing yourself, sacrifice your well-being, sacrificing your mental stability. Be lonely for a little bit. Be lonely for a while, for however long God has planned for you. Be lonely, but be happy. Be cheerful. I'm not saying that every day, all day, you got to walk around smiling. Look at me. I'm so happy. Yes, I'm lonely. No, I'm not saying that. I'm also not saying that it's going to be easy every day, but believe me, the sacrifices that you will make in trying to get out of that loneliness and trying to do things your way is so not worth the things that are going to come along with it. So just embrace it. Embrace your singleness, embrace your married life, embrace wherever God has you, but make sure you are doing your best to live your life according to His will. Every morning I pray, Lord, please just help me to live according to your will today and not mine, as hard as it might be, because I know that every time I try to put my hand on it, it's jacked. So through my healing process, um, I learned a couple really valuable things. One is that I have to speak my truth. When I say that, I say it, there's a couple different things that I mean by that. So, number one, speaking my truth is talking about the things, the negative things, the abuse that I've experienced in my life. Like, I have to start talking about that. Not doing that today, exactly, but that's something that I need for my healing process. The second thing that I mean by speaking my truth is I have to not be afraid to say what I need, to say what's best for me. Those both are some things that I have struggled with, which I believe have gotten me into some situations that I shouldn't have been in. So part of my healing process is speaking my truth. The other part of my healing process is to establish clear boundaries that I don't go back on, that I don't adjust because the person is bothered by it or because the person may not like me because of it. I have to set and establish clear boundaries that I don't deviate from. And as I'm not even going to say as women, just as human beings, we tend to do that. We'll say, okay, well, I'm not accepting X, Y, and Z, but somebody comes along and we think they're cute, or we think that whatever we might think about them, we might think that they're a person of influence. So I have to change my boundaries, or I have to let the fence down so that this person give me what I feel like I need right now. But again, we have to make sure that we are living our lives according to God's will. First of all, our will, hopefully it can fit in with what He has for us. But when you realize what that is and how that works to your benefit, those boundaries become a non-negotiable. So our first Talk About It Tuesday, yes, I just want to know, what are some of the things that you all are dealing with as you're healing, or maybe you feel like you are at the place where you are healed, you have got it down, you've learned, you've grown. How did you get there? What was your experience like? These are the type of things that I want to talk about during Talk About It Tuesdays. Just come together as women and just talk about those things that a lot of us are dealing with, if not all of us. And if we're not dealing with it currently, we probably just got out of it. Or if we didn't just get out of it, it's coming. So these are the type of things that I want to talk about, things that will help all of us to grow, to become better. So next week, I'll see you all for Talk About It Tuesday at 6 o'clock.